During the Enlightenment, John Locke, Thomas Hobbes, Montesquieu, Jean-Jacques Rousseau, and Voltaire started questioning their government's ideas and wrote books on the new governments and how individual rights are undeniable. They were first to demand for a new government, and they later led to revolutions, and it was caused by these thinkers wanting a change. These Enlightenment thinkers had a huge effect on the Declaration of Independence and our founding fathers, especially Benjamin Franklin, because he was one himself. And the Americans were just taking in all the information that the thinkers had to say, which showed Americans are very open to new ideas. And today's Enlightenment stems from the new understanding and practices. Manifest Destiny is the expansion of the U.S. in the 19th century, and while expanding, they were spreading their culture and influence too. In addition, without James K. Polk, Winfield Scott, John C. Fairmont, and John Quincy Adams and others, Manifest Destiny could have never happened. During Manifest Destiny, the U.S. expanded to almost twice its size, and during this time period, many were forced off their land like the Native Americans. On November 15, 1781, we changed the Articles of Confederation to the Constitution because of its many flaws. For example, the central government lacked the ability to levy taxes, and this is one of the events that led to the Constitutional Convention. And this change could have happened without Benjamin Franklin, who wrote the first draft of the Constitution and presented it to the Congress. This was caused by the fact that the Article of Confederation was weak and separated the states. The Constitution affected the U.S. in a positive way. It gave people their individual rights. Industrialization occurred between the 18th and 19th century, where significant changes in agriculture, transportation, manufacturing, and mining happened. Industrialization was caused by the need of raw material, and these changes affected the social, economic, and cultural conditions. Industrialization changed from having traditional agriculture to having factories that are a lot faster. The U.S. during this time surpassed all the other nations to become and remain the leading industrial power, which showed that they were ahead of their time. And during present-day Africa is still thriving in natural resources. Imperialism is the policy of expanding a country's power and influence. This occurred in the 19th century, and it wasn't just in America, it was also in European countries like France, Germany, Spain, and Portugal. And it was caused by the need of raw material, just like industrialization. It caused change in America by giving it a status of a powerful country and improving power in trading. It affected European wealth, and they also gained more power. The U.S. liked imperialism because it also brought them more power and wealth. And today imperialism relates to Haiti's situation because they used to overproduce. The American Civil War was from 1861 through 1865 because of the Union and the Confederate States had a different opinion on slavery. Abraham Lincoln, Jefferson Davis, and Robert E. Lee were also very important during this process. The Civil War was caused mainly by slavery, but also by economic differences, the election of Abe Lincoln, and the growth of the abolishment movement. The Civil War affected the South especially because it modernized it and improved their education. And still today, politicians talk about having more involvement in people's lives. The Great War lasted till 1914. Leaders during this were Kaiser Wilhelm, Woodrow Wilson, and Winston Churchill, and it was between the Central Powers and the Allies. There was no single event that led to this, but one was the assassination of Archduke Ferdinand, and then after many countries joined the war. It also allowed the U.S. to become more independent, and today there are only 2 surviving veterans from World War I. The Great Depression was the worst economic state of the U.S. It was caused by the crash of the stock market. It affected families by placing great economic and social psychological problems on them. But America handled this very well. Families grew food on their own and bargained. This shows that many Americans have strong character. And back in 2008, there was a crisis where they thought it would have been worse than the Great Depression. During World War II, Hitler invaded Poland in 1939. Franklin, Roosevelt, Harriet Truman, and General Tojo were a few of the leaders during this time. And it affected technology progress. It changed America because it gave women a chance to compete with men. The U.S. handled World War II well and ended the Great Depression, which shows their dedication to the country.